The stage is set. The 2025 WNBA Playoffs are here, and the matchups could not be more exciting. The Minnesota Lynx take on a brand new team in the Golden State Valkyries. The Las Vegas Aces face off against the dangerous Seattle Storm team, and the Atlanta Dream look to rise against the Indiana Fever. Meanwhile, Phoenix Mercury step into a brand new era led by Alicia Thomas and Satu Sabli as they take on the defending champion New York Liberty. This postseason is loaded with storylines, stars, and legacy on the line, so buckle up because we're diving deep into every matchup and every path to the championship. So let's get started with the Lynx and the Valkyries. Minnesota has been a playoff staple, bringing toughness, defense, and veteran leadership. But the Valkyries, they're the new kids on the block, and they're wasting no time making noise. The question is, can experience outweigh the energy of an expansion team hungry to prove themselves on the biggest stage? So, the matchup between the Minnesota Lynx will pit the number 1 seed versus the 8th seed in the Golden State Valkyries. Minnesota finished with the best record in the WNBA this season at 34-10, while the Valkyries in their inaugural season was above 500 at 23-21. Now the season series went by the way of the Minnesota Lynx as they won the regular season series 4-0. But the Valkyries, on the other hand, made history in their inaugural season by becoming the first expansion team in WNBA history to make the playoffs, and that was enough to get Coach Nakasi named Coach of the Year in the WNBA. So, what would be some keys to the series between the Minnesota Lynx and the Golden State Valkyries? Well, I'll tell you. We're going to start with Minnesota since they are the highest seed. First of all, on offense, one of the main keys and one of the main reasons if Minnesota should go on to win this series would definitely be the play of Napheesa Collier in her efficiency. Napheesa Collier was a member of the 50-40-90 club for this season, meaning that she shot 50% or higher from the field, 40% or higher from three-point range, or 90% or higher from free throw line. Just all around excellent efficiency from this young lady all season long. And that, the thing of it is that when she played against the Valkyries this year, she averaged 21 points and had a true shooting percentage of 68.5%. So obviously the number one key, or one of the main things that you can expect Minnesota to do in this series, run the offense through Fee, of course. Now, Minnesota also led the league in three-point shooting as a team, as they shot 37% from the three-point line. So obviously they're going to look to let them bad boys fly. They're going to maximize their three-point shooting, and the Lynx will aim to create open looks for their shooters. And they've had some pretty solid. Not only was Napheesa Collier one of their better shooters from three-point range, but also another all-star from their team, Kayla McBride, shot 40.1% percentage from three-point range this past season. Now, playoff basketball, literally you like to see teams slow it down, but there are a lot of teams that like to speed up. But a key element to this series, especially for the Lynx, will be fast-paced ball movement. Many leads the league in offensive rating and assists per game. Now, there definitely should be a focus on quick ball movement. They'll likely will look to push the pace to prevent the Valkyries from setting up their half-court defense. And we'll definitely touch on why Minnesota is looking to push the pace against the Valkyries based on their defense as we discuss some keys to Golden State's possible success in the series as well. Now, on defense, however, Minnesota's style is more of a high-pressure defense. The Lynx have the league's best defensive rating at 97.5 and hold opponents to a low percentage. So they'll definitely try to disrupt Golden State's offensive rhythm and force turnovers. And they're definitely going to have a focus on protecting the rim. Elena Smith excels defending at the rim. She finished third in the league in blocks, and limiting Golden State's success in the restricted area where they have some success versus the Lynx in the regular season will also be crucial to this series as well. Now, their overall strategy pretty much could go by going the way of exploit Golden State's offensive weaknesses. For one, Golden State ranks near the bottom of the WNBA in field goal percentage and offensive rating. The Lynx will try to stifle Golden State's offense by forcing difficult shots. Definitely control the tempo, dictate the pace of the game, utilizing their fast-paced offense, and of course maintain that home court advantage, because Minnesota home court record for this season, 20-2. Oh, they definitely take care of business at home, and Golden State is a team that clearly has nothing to lose. Minnesota's the team that got all the way to the finals last year and had a hell of a run, only to come up short. So they have some unfinished business. All the pressure is on them. There is no pressure on Golden State, because there were plenty of people going into this season who didn't even expect them to even be a competitive team, let alone make the playoffs. So they can literally just play with no expectations on them, just as they have throughout the season. Anywho, speaking of, if they're gonna pull off one of, if not the biggest upset in WNBA history, here are some things that Golden State can certainly do. First of all, let's give a little background to them. Golden State's defensive strategy is built on pressure, physicality, and strong paint protection. Okay, they like to pick up their opponents high in the half court, looking to force them into uncomfortable situations, and they love to eat up the shot clock. So there's a team that likes to control pace, they're a team that likes to defend, they do a lot of pressure defense, and they get physical with it. So that, number one, obviously will be a key for Golden State, is to continue to be one of the better defensive teams in the league. Their defense is designed to force turnovers, which is always part of their game plan to generate fast break opportunities. Now, they have one of, if not the elite paint protection teams. This is a team whose defensive strength starts in the interior. They held opponents, I should say, to a league that's 29 paint points per game, meaning you didn't score a lot of paint points on them, because they do a great job of defending in the interior on the court. Limit rim field goal attempts by crowding the paint and using rebounding to end possessions. Solid rebound team. They do a good job of defending, and they finish off that defensive stance by getting to the boards. Team-oriented defense. They rely on disciplined, cohesive defense rather than individual matchups. And they play at one of the slowest pace in the WNBA. Now, because they are a team that likes to really slow it down, there are ways they can get more offense. That's probably one of the reasons why there's an overwhelming, that's not one of the main reasons why there's an overwhelming response, in that many people feel like Minnesota could sweep this series. It's primarily because of the offense. Now, the Lynx are they're at a size disadvantage in this series. So one of the things that Golden State can do to kind of tilt the series in their favor would be to exploit the Lynx interior defense. Getting scoring opportunities inside will be very critical to any type of success Golden State would hope to have in this series. Maximize your free throw opportunities as well. Who says you have to just score from the field? You can score from the free throw line. Golden State shot 81% from the free throw line this year, placing them third in the league. They were fifth in the league at 15 free throws made per game, and they were tied for sixth in the league at 18 free throw attempts per game. So utilize that free throw, by drawing fouls. Converting free throws can be a vital way to get extra points. Control the pace, disrupt the Lynx rhythm, slowing the game down to the pace that you want it to be played. So that would definitely also be a key for the Lynx, a key for Golden State if they're going to try to pull off this upset. And of course, utilize three-point shooting. The three-point shot is the great equalizer to a lot of things in basketball today. They led the league in three-point attempts. Rupert shot 44% from the field, from three-point range, and Cecilia shot 40% from three-point range. So they have some excellent shooters on their squad that they can utilize to get points, and drive and kick outside to the shooters, running them off some screens and things of that nature to get them open, and so that they can get the looks that they need in order to make the shots that they normally make and take. But also a key component of their success will certainly will definitely be in that fluid ball movement. With Cecilia playing alongside Burton, the offense flows better with both of them on the court together. They usually have strong ball movement and off-ball actions involving Janelle and Roper. So creating movement, off-ball cuts such as the 45-degree cut can generate open looks versus the Lynx. So again, the strategy for Golden State should definitely be to utilize their three-point shooting, maximize their three-point opportunities. You do all those great things from the free throw, I should say. You do all these things great from the free throw line and make that a part of what you do in this game. And who knows? Who knows what could become of this series if their game plan is perfected. But be that as it may, my personal prediction, I'm going to go with Minnesota in this series. I know I said all of that, and it would make for an interesting storyline if it were to happen. But I'm gonna go with the favorite in this one and pick the Minnesota Lynx to win the series against the Golden State Valkyries. Now, and if that's not enough drama, wait until you hear about this next matchup. We have none other than the number 2 seeded Las Vegas Aces taking on the number 7 seeded Seattle Storm. Vegas enters the playoffs as the hottest team in the WNBA, currently on a 16-game win streak, led by none other than MVP candidate A'ja Wilson. Jewel Lloyd will be making her Aces playoff debut versus her former team, the Seattle Storm. But don't sleep on the Storm, because even without Lloyd, they've retooled with a new identity and a fearless young core, as well as steady veterans. This is where we find out if Aces are still untouchable or if Seattle is ready to shock the league. Now, tail of the tape between the Vegas Aces and the Seattle Storm. Vegas finished with a record of 30-14 after getting off to a slow and sluggish start at the beginning of the season. They were able to finish the WNBA season on a 16-game winning streak, propelling themselves from a team that was struggling, was near the bottom or definitely out of the playoff picture at one point in the season, to the number 2 seed. Seattle, on the other hand, finished with a record of 23-21. The season series was split. Teams played each other 4 times, both teams winning twice. A'ja Wilson averaged 23 points, 2 blocks, and 10 rebounds. The strengths of the Aces would definitely be, along with A'ja Wilson, of course, would be their guard play between Jackie Young, Kelsey Gray, Jewel Lloyd. They have a lot of solid guards. But the keys to the series as it pertains to the Aces would definitely be to slow the tempo and pace. Seattle's a team that thrives. They thrive in transition, pushing the tempo and scoring off turnovers. So it is imperative that Aces control the pace of this game, limit their turnovers, because the last thing you want Seattle to do is to go on a turnover run. And what I mean by that is, of course, forcing a turnover here, go get a basket there, come back down, play some more defense, force a turnover here, go get some more baskets there. They can't afford to have that happen if they're going to go ahead and keep these good vibes and great winning going. Of course, reduce transition opportunities. In the two wins over Seattle, the Aces minimized fast break chances, and that's going to be a huge key because the fast break is a huge part of what Seattle does. And if you can keep that to a minimum, you can definitely keep your chances of winning this series. Now, for the most part, for a good portion of the season, defense was an actual weakness of the Aces. But during this winning streak, they have definitely had better defensive activity. So they definitely they're going to need to limit Seattle's ability to create offensive flow, disrupt their half-court offense. Seattle's efficiency in half-court sets are the lowest among the playoff teams. So they're going to need to contain the key stars, Skylar Diggins, Nneka. Definitely going to need to contain those young ladies because that is by far the scores on that team. But you're going to also need to protect the paint. The Storm rely on inside scoring. They have a solid inside scoring group. So that's going to be an area that the Aces are going to need to really take their game to another level in and trying to make sure that they minimize the tongue twisted over here. Points in the paint. And also Aces force Storm into their least liked shot, meaning the shot that Seattle struggles to knock down with any level of consistency would be mid-range jump shots. They really struggle in that department. So one of the things that you want to do is, of course, limit points in the paint, keep your turnovers to a minimum, but also force them to have to take the outside shot, something that they don't do a great job of. They don't do a great job of hitting with consistency. Now, and limit Seattle's rebounding. Focus on boxing out. You gotta put your butt on somebody, box them out. In the two wins that the Aces had against the Storm, they limited the Storm's second chance opportunities. So Seattle's a team that thrives on paint points, second chance opportunity, and points in transitions off turnovers. So, you definitely have to be on your P's and Q's with this team because a lot of the things that, a lot of the areas of the game, such as rebounding, defense, turnovers, those are always going to be keys to any team having success. And the team that has a low amount of turnovers, the team that rebounds the best, and the team that can get out in transition and get easy basket, those are the teams that win. And so those are all the things that make Seattle a very formidable foe for the Aces. Now, taking a look at the Storm and some things that will definitely help them along the way. So let's look at a few of the strengths of their team. They have all-stars in Nneka, Skylar, and Gabby Williams. As we mentioned before, they excel in pushing the tempo. They have strong interior defense, and they're ranked fourth. They're the fourth ranked defense in points allowed per 100 possessions. As I've mentioned earlier, some of their weaknesses would be they can be a little too reliant upon that mid-range jumper as opposed to three-pointers. They're a low-scoring efficiency in half-court sets, and they're prone to offensive loss. They lack shot creation. So, here's a team that doesn't have a lot of players on their team that can create opportunities for themselves in terms of shot creation. So some of the main things they like to do, get the ball inside and get out, and which is great if you know that that's something that you struggle with. You're not able to create opportunities in the half court set, then you can create turnovers on the defensive end to get the opportunities that you want. So now some of the keys, or many of the keys that would behoove the Seattle Storm to implement into their strategy against the Aces would be to use defense for offense. Storm's identity is on the defensive end. They lead the league in steals at 8.5 per game and blocks at 5.1 per game. Disrupt the Aces offense to create points off turnovers. This is a team who led the WNBA in points off turnovers, scoring 17 points per game off turnovers. Win the half-court battle. Stars will need to perform consistently in half-court sets. That means Nneka, who averaged 18 points a game. Skylar Diggins, provides scoring and playmaking opportunities for not only herself but her teammates. And be aggressive with your three-point shooting. It can help create spacing and pull the Aces defenders out of the paint, which would open up the paint for them to do what they do best, which is score in the paint. Now, the X factor in this series could very well be Dominique. A bright spot off the bench for Seattle this season. When given minutes, she can provide an offensive threat and efficient scorer off the bench. And another thing that's going to be the key for the Storm will be handling late game pressure. Rely on the experience to manage that pressure. You have some solid veterans on that roster who have been through some serious battle tested in terms of playoffs. So definitely utilize their experience to help get you through should you find yourself in a game that's tight and close against the Aces. But with that being said, I'm ready to make my prediction. I have the Aces winning this series. Now, let's shift east, where things are just as heated, honey. Yeah, just because we're moving on to the left coast don't mean it get cooler. Nope, the battles are heated up over there too. The Atlanta Dream are one of the league's most exciting teams, but they're taking on the resilient Indiana Fever squad. Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray versus Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston. This one could be a series that steals some headlines. Now, the 3-6 matchup will have the Atlanta Dream, taking on number 6 seed Indiana Fever. The Atlanta Dream finished with a 30-14 record, and Indiana finished with a record of 24-20. A season series was split as Atlanta took 2 games and Indiana took 2 games as they played each other 4 times in this season. Now, a little injury report. As we all know, Caitlin Clark is out for the season, so she will not be in this. They do a part of this series, I should say. But so too is Sophie Cunningham. McDonald is out, and Sydney Colson all out of this series and for the remainder of the season. So with that being said, this matchup pretty much comes with size versus resilience, if you will. The Atlanta Dream led the league in rebounding at 36 per game. They were second in 3 points made at 421. And Atlanta favored Atlanta's going to be favored due to a deeper roster and home court advantage. However, the Dream's strengths are their depth, their size, and rebounding. They are vulnerable in their offensive inconsistency and defensive discipline, however. So, let's see. A key for the Atlanta Dream. Here's some things that are going to be imperative that they find a way to overcome, and that's shooting consistency. They can get hot from 3-point range, can sometimes be inconsistent also, and then when they do have those nights where the shots aren't falling, they tend to resort to ISO ball, which is fine because they do have players in Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray who do a good job in those areas. However, Atlanta is a real formidable foe and a dangerous team when they are making their shots, because it opens up so much more within their offense. Their 3-point volume versus efficiency. A cold shooting night from beyond the arc could be a significant impact on the outcome of this series. So, another area that Atlanta would best be. How can I say this? Another area that Atlanta can be vulnerable, if you will, would be to the Fever's pace. Fever is a high-paced offensive team which can disrupt Atlanta's preferred slower half-court pace. Previously they forced Atlanta into rushed and sloppy play in one of the games they had against them because they basically controlled the game with their pace. In Atlanta, most teams feel like, hey, I can keep up with that pace too. But then at the same time, it seemed like they were rushing their offense and they began to get sloppy with the ball and they had sloppy play. So they can be susceptible to allowing Indiana to control the pace. So it would be in their benefit to do everything in their power, if you will, to make sure they control the pace instead. Be definitely disciplined when it comes to fouling if you're the Atlanta Dream. The Fever are known to draw fouls at a high rate. Foul trouble could limit the play of key rotational players. Defensive lapses. Atlanta is known to have defensive lapses. That's definitely not something you want to do against Fever. Fever's ability to create mismatches with Aaliyah Boston's interior presence could make some of the some of the Dreams help defenders into committing unnecessary fouls. So you kind of want to be disciplined in that regard because you have the size advantage, but you don't want to have it minimized because you're in foul trouble. So that's going to be an area that the Atlanta Dream are going to definitely need to be mindful of and kind of lock in as it pertains to being disciplined on the defensive end. Now, as far as a winning game plan that the Dream can employ is to focus on the interior scoring and penetration, attack the paint. Gray and Ryan can use their driving ability to get in the lane to create for themselves and others. Like I said before, you have an advantage with size. With Brianna Jones and Brittany Griner, these are strong post players who can demand double teams. And those double team comes, that creates open shots for your perimeter players when passing out of the post. Right? Also, improve your shot selection. You don't want to come down and take quick shots, which can lead to opportunities on the other end for Indiana to get points in transition. And of course, you want to have great ball movement, off ball cuts, move the ball quickly, cut effectively, and also increase the pace. Run in transition. Be smart when you're increasing the pace. However, you don't want to get caught up in a track meet with a team like Indiana. That's their style of play. But run in transition, push the pace when the opportunity arises. Focus on defense, generate turnovers, rebound both on the offensive side and the defensive side, and limit the Fever's fast break. Those are some things that the Dream can do to put themselves in position to advance in this series. Now, going on over to the Indiana Fever side, the keys to this series obviously will be control the possession battle, leverage Aaliyah Boston's talent, play strong, connected defense, and get your normal excellent contributions that you get from Kelsey Mitchell. But make Boston a central figure in your offense, and that will create better shots not only for herself but for teammates. She's a solid passer for a big, so it's not like you throw the ball into her and you never see it again. No, but also continue to control the defense. Control tempo and possessions. Be disciplined and focus on matching Atlanta's physicality to control the game's flow and limit turnovers. Right? Play that connected defense. For the Fever to win, defense and rebounding must be consistent. Work as a unit to contest shots and secure rebounds against the Dream's strong front court. Excuse me. Now, offensive versatility is one of the strengths that Indiana has. With the Dream size in the paint, the Fever will need to rely on their guards, especially Kelsey Mitchell, to find other ways to score and create for others, matching Atlanta's aggression on both ends. Rely on your veteran experience. Natasha Howard, for instance, brings a valuable valuable playoff experience and can provide critical contributions. So to sum it all up, for the most part, the Dream's size, rebounding, and defensive power coupled with offensive firepower make them very formidable. The Fever will definitely need exceptional performances from both Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, along with a disciplined defensive effort in winning the possession battle to upset the Dream in advance. This one here, this literally, even with the injuries that the Fever have, I'm still not ready to say that this could be a sweep. I don't know if it could or if it can't, but I think if I had to pick a series that I think could go the best of three, this would probably be one of them for me. But I think Atlanta's size, rebounding, and just their depth wins out. Truth be told, that's how I feel about it at this point. I could be wrong, but you know, I never said I was God, so. Anywho, and speaking of headlines, how about a battle of all-stars? Our final matchup, as we'll see the Phoenix Mercury taking on the defending champion New York Liberty. All right, now the Phoenix Suns, why do I keep, you know what? The Phoenix Mercury have turned the page on the Taurasi era, and the new identity is clear. Alicia Thomas and the Satu Sabali are the engines now. Thomas brings her signature toughness, leadership, and playmaking, while Satu adds scoring, versatility, and length that can change a game. Together, they've given Phoenix a fresh edge, but standing in their way are the defending champions, the New York Liberty. Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, and Jonquel Jones headline a roster built for back-to-back runs. Can Thomas and Satu carry Phoenix into a new chapter of playoff success, or will the champs remind everyone why they're still the team to beat? Well, we definitely shall see. But let's take a look at the tail of the tape between the two teams as the Phoenix Mercury entered the playoffs with a 27-17 record, while the New York Liberty also 27-17. Phoenix won the season series 3-1, which is why they have the home court advantage, because both teams have the same exact record. As we mentioned before, the Liberty are on a quest to repeat. And let's start with Phoenix and what they can do to dethrone the champs, if you will. Well, for one, you want to contain the Liberty's big three of Breanna Stewart and Jonquel Jones. You certainly want to limit Sabrina Ionescu, reduce her efficiency. Like in the two meetings that they played against against the Liberty this season, they had two meetings in which she combined to shoot 5 for 25. If you can find a way to make her suffer with her shooting, you could definitely put yourself in position to win in advance. But Phoenix must be consistent with their 3-point shooting. The one crazy funny fact about Phoenix this season is that they were 12-1 in games in which they shot 40% or better from 3-point range. So they would certainly have to replicate that stellar 3-point shooting from the regular season in this series. That will give them a great advantage. But take advantage of mismatches. Use their athletic and physical play, especially with players like Thomas and Satu, to create mismatches. Also, Copper can create her own set of mismatches with her athleticism. So they definitely should be utilizing their athleticism to kind of put themselves in position to go against someone who may not necessarily have the foot speed or the agility to keep up with them when they go, when their athleticism kick in, if you will. But take advantage of the mismatches. That's definitely one of the check marks on the list of things that Phoenix can do just to try to help themselves in this series. With the X factor, find an X factor, find a secondary player to step up and contribute, similar to what Naya Sabali almost said Satu, but her sister provided a spark during the Liberty's championship run. So Phoenix, there's someone that can provide that same type of spark for you guys to help you, dethrone the champs, if you will. But yeah, containing the big three is definitely going to be key. Of course, anytime you're talking about playoffs, you're definitely talking about controlling pace, and it's no different in this series. Phoenix is one of those teams who thrives on a quicker tempo, and they definitely love to force turnovers. They rank third in the league in steals with 7.8 per game and average over 15 forced turnovers per game. So maybe they like to get out and go. Get it and go is what I like to call it. And while New York, on the other hand, prefers a more controlled, motion-heavy offense, forcing the Liberty into a faster pace and converting turnovers into fast break points will be a crucial key to the Mercury's success in this series. Now, Phoenix interior play. Phoenix has a strong front court with AT, Satu, and Natasha Mack, all are strong rebounders, and they thrive in the paint. Now, going on over to the New York Liberty side of things, star power definitely is a strength. You lean on your stars. You have Breanna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, Sabrina Ionescu. Allow them to carry the team, leveraging their postseason experience. Free throw line. Yeah, I know it's not sexy. It's not something that we as fans tune in to see a free throw shooting contest. But when you're a leading free throw shooting team, get to the basket, draw some fouls, make them put you in an area on the court where you are great. As a team, they're a phenomenal free throw shooting team, and use that to your advantage. If you find yourself on a night where you can't put the ball in the basket, find your rhythm by getting to the paint, drawing some fouls, and get it that way. Also, utilize your size, control the paint, and exploit mismatches against Phoenix. Phoenix is not the biggest team in the league compared to New York. So while on the defensive end, it may be a mismatch for you to end up switched off on Thomas or Satu or Kalia Copper, where they can utilize their athleticism against, say, a Jonquel Jones or a Breanna Stewart. On the flip side of that, you get to utilize your size on the other end. So, same mismatch, take advantage of mismatch that we talked about with Phoenix. That can also be said to discuss the Liberty. Bench production. You have Emma, Liani, and Rain. All are capable of providing significant contributions off the bench for the Liberty. Bench scoring and defensive play could very well be a deciding factor in this series. But also control the boards. Control the boards. That's right. What they said. What's the playoff saying? Rebounds win championships. They do. No rebounds, no rings. That's the one I was looking for. Yeah, no rebounds, no rings. That's right. Control the boards. Limit the Mercury's second chance opportunities. That's going to be a key and a major factor for New York. New York gives up the most offensive rebounds in the league. So it would behoove them to make sure that they control the boards, because you don't want to give up offensive rebounds to an undersized team. This is already a scrappy bunch based on their steals and their propensity to force turnovers. You definitely don't want to give them second chance opportunities too. So, with that being said, this matchup between Phoenix and the Liberty. Now, Phoenix won the season series 3-1 against New York. However, the Liberty were not at full strength in most of those games. Now both teams are at full strength for the playoff matchup, and the playoff series may very well be a different story. expect a close contest now that both teams are fully healthy. And with that being said, I'm going to make my prediction for this series, and I'm going to say that the New York Liberty will prevail and keep their hopes of repeating alive as they advance to the second round. Well, the 2025 WNBA playoffs are officially here, and the road to the championship runs straight through the defending champions, New York Liberty. From the young stars ready to make their mark, to the aces hungry to reclaim their crown, to Phoenix stepping into a new era without DT, to the unfinished business of the Lynx, the postseason is packed with storylines you don't want to miss. Now, who do you think has the best shot at taking down the Liberty? Do you think the Liberty can repeat? If not, who do you pick? Not only in these 4 matchups in the first round, but to win it all. Drop your predictions in the comments. Smash the like button if you're hyped for the playoffs. Smash that button if y'all hyped for the playoffs. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a moment of our coverage. Thank you again for tuning in to the Perimeter Defense Basketball Podcast with yours truly, Queen Chill Mode. The chase for the WNBA title starts now. Well, let's get on board for the ride. La holla later.